What is going on, guys? It's Drakesy, and just a quick one before today's video does start. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, because when we reach 1,000 subscribers, we're going to be doing a giveaway on the channel. The giveaway is going to be for a gift card, whether that be on Microsoft or Sony. The gift card will depend on the platform that you're on. So if you do want a chance to enter this competition, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 2 of the Newcastle career mode. And as you can see, we've not really started any games. We're still in the pre-season kind of tournament thing. But don't let that deter you from anything, because on episode 1 you guys have been bashing in your comments and getting them in large numbers, should I say. So yeah, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do this training for these players here, and then we're going to get onto some comments and see what you guys have been suggesting of players for us to buy. The player that we're going to be training up in all of the training sessions is going to be Alexander Mitrovic. As we can see, he is so close to leveling up to a 76 rated player. So without any further ado, I am going to simulate these. Fingers crossed he does. He surely should level up here. As we can see, he has done as well. So now Mitrovic has actually gone up a level, gone up a rating, and he's now a 76 rated player. So that's a good start for us already. We've already got players leveling up, and yeah, now we're going to get onto the signings of new potential players at the club. Now we jump on to my favourite part of all these career modes, and that's always looking through your comments from last episodes and then getting in potential players that could fit in at the club. So what we're going to go ahead and do is scan through a couple of comments, potentially all of them if we can get through all of them, and look at the players that you guys have suggested us to sign or just scout for the time being. So the first comment that comes in is from the user Ian Taylor, and as we can see in his comment, he actually suggested us to buy Jesse Lingard, Adnan Januzaj and Luke Shaw. Now, I'm not sure whether I'm going to get all three of these players, but I'm definitely going to look into scouting them and adding them onto our shortlist. So for the time being, I think what we're going to do is we're going to add Jesse Lingard to our shortlist and scout him, and then we're going to do the same for the other two players, as you'll see in a minute. As you can see now, we move on to Adnan Januzaj, adding him to shortlist, adding him on the scouting kind of list, if that's a thing. And yeah, we've now got Adnan Januzaj added to the list, and finally we move on to Luke Shaw. And speak of the devil, here he is, Luke Shaw himself, a fantastic left back in real life, but sadly he's not getting the opportunities at Manchester United at the moment, but potentially could get the opportunities that are needed if he joins Newcastle. So I think out of all the potential players that he suggested, that being Ian Taylor, thank you very much for your comment, I think Luke Shaw seems to be the most fitting. He's got a great potential, as we all know. He's young, he's English, and he's just, in my opinion, he's a bit higher class than Jesse Lingard, in FIFA that is, and Adnan Januzaj. So I think we might actually inquire as well for Luke Shaw. We'll see what Manchester United come back and say, but fingers crossed he is affordable for us, because he could be a potentially very good signing indeed. The next suggestion that came in was in fact from the YouTube commenter Man Like Henry, and as we can see, he commented a very nice comment indeed, saying get Tiote. So as many of you might know, some people might not know watching this video, but sadly the football player Cheick Tiote sadly moved to China and passed away recently this year. So it would have been a very nice touching kind of I don't know, kind of move, I suppose, if we could transfer him back in this career mode. But sadly, as you can see, I've tried writing in his name here, but it does look like FIFA 17 career mode, they have in fact removed him from that database. So it doesn't look like it is possible for us to get the player, but all I can say is rest in peace to Cheick Tiote, and respect and honours go out to his family, but sadly it does not look like we will be able to get him. But thank you very much for your comment, Man Like Henry. It would have been a nice touch, but sadly it isn't possible. The next comment comes in from the user and regular viewer on the channel, Alex's Music, and as we can see, he actually commented, try to get Volkan Demirel. I think that's the correct pronunciation, but as we can see, Volkan Demirel is a 34-year-old goalkeeper playing for Fenerbahce out in the Turkish league. He is in fact 34 years old, which is particularly old for a player, but for a goalkeeper, somewhat kind of in his prime potentially. But I kind of like the left field show. I like how unusual he is, so we're definitely going to scout him. We're going to also add him to shortlist. But as we can see, if we look, it does say 12 months and then his contract does expire. So what we potentially might or even do is scope this player, wait till his contract is running low, and then I think what we could potentially do is get him on a free in a couple of months' times. So rather than spending money on him, we'll get him for free. So I think that's what we're going to do with this suggestion. So thank you very much, Alex. He does also suggest us to sell Sells, the player, as we can see, the other goalkeeper that we have at the club. We might hold on to him for the time being, see how he does, and then potentially sign this player on a free and then move on from there, or potentially look at another goalkeeper. But once again, thank you very much for your comment. And also he does suggest Jones from Manchester United, so we're going to go and look at Phil Jones now as well. Now we move on to Phil Jones, and as we can see, the 24-year-old centre-back for England and Manchester United. He's 6'1". I'm not too sure how he plays in game, but we're definitely going to scout him, shortlist and inquire about the player as well. A lot of Manchester United players getting suggested to us, but I'm not going to refuse it because I love a good Manchester United player, being a Manchester United fan. But hopefully we can maybe come good, get some of these players that are kind of rejects at Manchester United at the moment, and bring them into Newcastle and potentially make them from zero to hero. So thank you very much for your comment, Alex, and thank you very much for the suggestions. And yeah, move on to the next comment. The next suggestion comes in from the YouTube commenter, once again Ian Taylor. This is the second comment this episode, but as we can see, he actually suggested us to buy potentially Joshua King from Bournemouth. Now I do believe that this guy also used to play for Manchester United, so we're kind of getting ex and present day Manchester United players no matter what we do at this rate. But as we can see, Joshua King, I think he's a good player. I've not really played with him much, but we're definitely going to add him to shortlist, scout him and inquire to Bournemouth for the player as well. But as you can see, Ian did recommend him, so fingers crossed he does come to the club. I'm guessing he'll be relatively kind of cheap, but we'll have to see what they come back and say to our inquiry. The next comment comes in from another regular viewer on the channel, and that is the Maxwell. So thank you very much for your comment. And as you can see, he does suggest us to potentially buy the player Virgil van Dijk from Southampton. So a very, very good suggestion. As many of you know, in this transfer window, he was actually linked to going to Liverpool. So he's definitely a very, very high quality player indeed. He's only 25 years old and he's 83 rated as well. So he's got great potential. He's pretty much a perfect centre-back, standing at 6'4", and yeah, he's got some great stats as well. As we can see, his value is about 20.5 million. So what we will do is we will add to shortlist, and we're going to inquire, just see how much Southampton say. But hopefully he doesn't go for that much, because then we'll have no money left over. But we're definitely going to inquire for the time being and leave it at that and see what they come back and say. The next comment comes in from the same user, the Maxwell, and as you can see on your screens now, he actually suggests us to buy the player Adrien Rabiot from Paris Saint-Germain. The young French centre midfielder looks like a class player in real life. I'm not too sure how he does on FIFA, but surely he'll be quite good. And as you can see, the suggestion that he recommends us to do is 5 million plus Colback, the player. Put that in as an offer and see what PSG come back and say. Now, I really cannot see Jacques Colback playing for Paris Saint-Germain, but it'll be funny to see if this actually does go through. But for the time being, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scout him, I'm going to add him to shortlist, and I'm actually going to inquire to Paris Saint-Germain, see what they come back and say to our offers, see if they're kind of happy or not to us inquiring. And depending on the value that they say, we'll know what to counter offer back to them. So like I said, we're going to inquire and see what they say in value. So with some of the questions answered, we're now going to go ahead and move on and advance to the next game in this kind of pre-season tournament that we're going to be playing. But first of all, as we can see, we've had a final scout on the player Charlie Masonda from last episode. And this guy, honestly guys, he looks like a fantastic, fantastic player to invest in. He's 19 years old, a left midfielder, and he's 76 rated. And we could potentially get him for around about £8 million. I genuinely think that would be an absolute steal if we do get this player. He's fast, he's quick, he's good on the ball. He looks like a potentially world-class player. And we could get him for about 8 million. I'm genuinely considering this player more than any other player so far. I think I'll put in a really low offer and see what they come back and say. If they accept it, then that'll be fantastic. For the time being, let's just say 5 million, and I know that they're going to probably say no to it, but we'll just see where they stand at the moment. So we're just going to say 5 million for now and see what Chelsea say back to that. Moving on from there, we've actually had some transfer offers coming in as well. So as we can see, Rolando Aarons, another young left midfielder, just as we've been speaking about one. Ipswich want him on a 1-year loan. I think we might just accept this one, guys, as we can see when we accept it. Look where it says wage budget as well, guys. As we can see, it jumps up quite a bit as well. So that's money that we could potentially invest into other players as well. So I think for the time being, before we get him, I'm actually just going to stall this one. Until we get that Charlie Masonda, I'm actually going to stall it, but we can definitely accept it if we need to. As we can see, Southampton have come back to our offer for Virgil van Dijk, and it's 38 million. I believe at the moment we're sitting on about 25 million, so it's very unlikely that we're going to find 18 million and spend all that on a centre-back. So for the time being, guys, I am actually just going to dismiss this one, but thank you very much for your comments. Do keep them coming, because if we have a good season, we'll get a bit more money, and then we can potentially sell a couple of players and get in Virgil van Dijk potentially in the future. But looking on from there, as we can see, we've had another another update on the rating of Marcus Rashford. And as we can see, he's 18 years old and he's 78 rated. That's a fantastic rating for such a youngster. And then we can also see that Kelechi Iheanacho as well is 75 rated at 19. So he's not as good as his opponent, should I say, Marcus Rashford, his opposition. But then again, I am really liking the look of Charlie Masonda and potentially Marcus Rashford if we can get these two signings in. So interestingly enough, we've actually had another transfer offer come in for one of our players. This is coming from Brighton, and they're actually asking for 4.5 million if they can have Mitrovic. That's quite a bit of money, but to be honest, I'm not looking to sell him, so I think as a joke, I think I'll counter offer just under 15 million and see what they come back and say to that. On the inquiry for Luke Shaw, as we can see, Manchester United have said he's worth around 15.5 million. So that's quite a bit of money, to be honest, but not that much. We could probably get him in if we wanted him, basically. So for the time being, I think I'm going to archive this message, just hold on to it. That's a lot for Phil Jones. Remember, we have about 25 million, 21 million going on a centre-back. Is that wasteful? We're definitely going to hold on to it. We're going to archive it for the time being. Joshua King, an absolute steal at 6 million. So a player that we can definitely keep in mind if we're looking for a striker to help us build up the squad in depth. And then we move on to Rabiot. And as we can see, is that the correct way to say his name? Rabiot? Rabiot? I'm not too sure. I'm going to call him Rabiot for now, but if I am incorrect, please correct me in the comment section below, as I don't speak French and don't know how to pronounce French names. But as we can see, the more pressing subject matter is that he's worth 31.5 million, guys. I'll put in the offer that was suggested of 5 million and Jack Colback, but I have a funny feeling, guys, that it's definitely going to get rejected. So here is the offer, guys. I really doubt that this one's going to get accepted, but I've kind of sweetened the deal. I've chucked in another 500,000 just on top, just to see what they say, but I have a funny feeling it's definitely going to get rejected. As we can see, they've asked for 31.5 million in value. We've offered 5 million and Jack Colback, who's worth 2.5 million. So in total, we've probably offered around about 7 or 8 million in value. So they're probably not going to accept that when the player is worth 30, but I'll put in the offer just hoping, with my fingers crossed, toes crossed and everything else, but it's very unlikely that it goes through, guys. So now we come up to our next game in this pre-season kind of tournament that we are doing, and just to be safe, I think what I'm actually going to do is listen to a comment that was suggested by another user, and this comment basically just covers the point of us changing our formation. So this comment was suggested to us by the user Extreme Gamer. He actually suggests us to use the 4-3-3-4 formation, so we're going to check that now. And when I say that, I kind of made that sound a bit confusing, but what I did actually mean is the 4-3. I'm speaking too much. I'll show you what I mean. So as we can see guys, this is the formation I believe that Extreme Gamer is recommending. He says on the comment the 4-3-3 formation, and he means the fourth choice. So as we can see, if we look now, this is the first choice, this is the second choice, third and then fourth, and then this is the fifth here. But as we can see, we are actually going to pick the fourth one along, and we're going to lay up a team and see how it does. And yeah, thank you very much for your suggestion, and fingers crossed we get a good result from this game. So as you can see, this is the lineup we're going for. It's not our strongest, but at the same time, this is only a pre-season tournament that we are performing in. So it's a they've got some good players in, let's not deny that, but the only problems are, there are a few players playing out of formation. Take Anita, for example. He is a right back, but as we can see in positions that he can play centre defensive mid. But like I said, we've not got the best players on the pitch, but we should be pulling a somewhat result from this game. So as you can see, we are getting into the simulation. The team lineup for them is, it's not got any big names, but I'm sure that they'll put up a fight if we do try and get a win over them. Fingers crossed something goes on. As we can see, we're getting onto the halfway point now. Half time's been and gone, and all that's happened is a yellow card. We've actually subbed on Mitrovic for the player Murphy. Anything else going to happen? A few more substitutions going on for either side, and Matt Ritchie gets a goal in the 82nd minute. That is what we need from the guy. He is looking like a fantastic player for us already, getting goals when we need it in the last 10 minutes of the game, scoring up and coming up Millhouse. That's a 1-0 win over the team Alaves. Looking good, guys. Thank you very much for your suggestions, and keep them coming. As we can see, for our performance in that last game, we've actually earned ourselves an additional £2.5 million. So that's an additional money that we're going to be getting into the bank. Fantastic, fantastic stuff. Definitely going to help us build up the squad in a bit more depth and value. So perfect for the team, I guess. We've had a transfer loan offer come in from Portsmouth for the youngster Liam Gibson, and as we can see, he's 19 years old, 61 rated left back. We're just going to stick him out on loan, guys. It builds up our kind of wage budget, and yeah, the player's not going to get much game time either. And for the time being, with Rolando Aarons, like I said, we're going to stall it until we hear back from Chelsea with Charlie Masonda. So we've got a pre-game press conference against for our upcoming match, should I say, against SC Braga, the Portuguese team. I'm expecting a big win, so you know what? I think I'm actually going to say, I'm going to praise Newcastle because we don't need motivating. We've done good so far, and yeah, I feel like that's kind of somewhat relevant. We've actually had a transfer offer coming in for a player, Curtis Good. If you guys watched episode 1, you will know that Curtis Good got in a little game for us. He could become a club hero if he did stay, but to be honest, I'm not going to turn down some good money for the player. I think if I do, let's just say around about £750,000. If they give us that for a player that's probably not worth it, we will accept the offer. So we're going to counter offer that and see what Burton Albion come back and say to us about that offer. Unfortunately, Paris Saint-Germain have reviewed our offer and they do not believe that the player is worth what we offered, which was, like I said, about 8 million if we include the value of Jack Colback. So we kind of expected that to happen, like I said. So for the time being, I think we're just going to get rid of that. And then, yeah, we'll see what Chelsea have said as well. Chelsea have actually said that the price tag was not enough for the player. They want 10 million. We've offered 5 million. Let's offer 7 million and see if they come back and say yes to that. We're still getting him for very cheap if we get him for 7 mil as well. Okay guys, so we've actually had an interesting offer come in from Brighton. As we can see, Alexander Mitrovic is only worth 6.5 million, but they've actually offered us around about 9 million for the player. This is interesting. I don't know whether Alexander Mitrovic gets higher in value. Is this a good deal? So I think I'm going to leave it to you guys. So as you should see in the top hand corner of your screen, there should be a little I button, whether you're on a mobile device, whether you're on computer, laptop, whatever you're watching on, there should be the I icon in the top corner. Click that and vote whether you think we should sell Mitrovic or not for this price. But if we do sell him, we're going to have to look for a striker to replace him. But like I said, get your vote in now whether you think we should or shouldn't sell Alexander Mitrovic in this career mode for around about 9 million. For the time being, I'm going to stall it, but like I said, you guys decide. So this is the lineup we're going for. Again, we're going to run with the 4-3-3 formation once again to see how it does against SC Braga. I'm expecting a good result. We've got some stronger players in this time, and up top we've actually got Mitrovic, who potentially, this could be one of his last games for the club if we do in fact sell him. Maybe not, maybe we will, but like I said, we'll have to see if you guys vote on where the player goes. So the simulation is getting ready to start, and as we can see, SC Braga versus Newcastle United. I'm expecting a good result. Come on guys, we can definitely get something going here. Coming into the 40th minute now, and sadly we've conceded a goal, but luckily one of our players is straight back in. So Eduardo scored for them, and then we got a goal from Lazar, I believe that's our left back, but sadly they've got another goal from their player Santos. Come on, can we get another goal? It doesn't look like we will, guys, but that is the risk you run when you simulate a game. So sadly, we actually lost 2-1. I'm not too sure whether there is a reverse fixture. Potentially there might be, but yeah, on the first leg, if that is, we've lost. So it's not looking good from there. But no, guys, I don't think there is a reverse fixture because this table tends to tell you the next upcoming match. So I think our next match is going to be in the Premier League. So we've got a bit more training going on here. We've got some with the goalkeeper, some with Atsu, and then Ayoze Perez as well. And as we can see, none of the players have leveled up yet, but still all very close to leveling up, so it's looking particularly good already. The transfer offer for Curtis Good has been upped, but it's not looking like what we offered back. But you know what, to be honest guys, I think I'm actually going to accept this. 600,000 for Curtis Good, a club legend who's only played one game for us whilst we've been in charge. But I think I'm going to not reject that because that's a decent amount for a player that's probably not going to get any games. So we're going to accept that. We're going to get a bit more money in the bank, and then when it comes round to it, we can potentially buy better players. Like I said, this one's up to you, so I'm going to stall this one, and yeah, we'll go from there and see where we stand after this. So as we can see guys, it looks like great news. Chelsea have come back to us and they have accepted the offer we put down for 7 million for the player Charlie Masonda, who could potentially be a world-class player in the future. I feel like 7 million is an absolute bargain for this guy, and as we can see, we've already sorted out what we believe is the right contract stuff. 50,000 looks like he should be happy with, a 4-year contract, and we're going to say that he's going to be an important first team player because we're not going to lie, if he comes to the club, he could potentially be a future world star for us. So as we can see, Curtis Good, the Australian legend as it was, has actually been sold for 600,000. So he is no longer a Newcastle player and has joined Burton Albion. And then as we can see, we've got quite a few more scout reports on a few players. But for the time being, I think I'm going to check these and then report back to you. Luke Shaw is 79 rated at 21 years old, not a bad rating. We've got Phil Jones, 3 years older and only 1 rating higher, so potentially Luke Shaw is the better deal there. And then as we can see, Joshua King, a 74 rated 24-year-old striker, could potentially be a good player for us if we need a striker, but we'll have to see if we need that striker, that is if Mitrovic does sell. Sadly, Charlie Masonda did reject the offer that we put down for him. He said he wanted a bigger role in the club, so to be honest, let's say he will be a crucial first team player. We're not going to up his wage at all because that's not what he requested, but hopefully by saying that he will be a crucial first team player, he will accept. But to be honest guys, if he does come, he probably will be crucial anyway. Next up, we've actually had an offer from West Brom for Ayoze Perez. I kind of like this youngster. He's kind of an upcoming good kind of player that we could potentially use if we want to. And seeing as though West Brom are rivals, I don't want to be selling him cheap. So I think I'm going to say, I'll say 9 million back to West Brom about the player for now. If they accept 9, is 9 million too low? I feel like 9 million is too low. Let's say 10 million and see what they say back to that. If they accept, then we can go on and get a much better player. But I kind of see them either rejecting or counter-offering. So as we can see now, the second to last subject before we end today's episode, we've got Volkan Demirel, the 34-year-old goalkeeper that was suggested to us by Alex, I believe. Thank you very much, Alex. He's actually 77 rated, so we can see his rating, see his value, and like I said, we're definitely going to keep this guy in mind, but what we might do is sign him when his contract is expiring, so we get him on a free. So thank you very much for the suggestion, and we'll keep him in mind. So guys, this is the last place we leave off today's episode. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys have been enjoying, and like I said, this is the big question. Do we or do we not sell Alexander Mitrovic? If you've not voted already, get voting in the top corner of the screen, pressing the I button and vote up there. But for the time being, this is where I'm going to leave off. This has been episode 2 of the Newcastle career mode. Next episode, we're going to start in the Premier League. We're going to be playing those games. We're not going to be simulating those. We're going to get straight into playing them. So, I hope you guys have been enjoying so far. Leave a like if you have been. Subscribe if you're not already. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Drakesy. Hope you've enjoyed and see you in a bit, guys.